Hello, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal X, NGR Radio's Xbox podcast. As always, what we got to do, fellas? Tell what the X. Sorry about that. Because we were about to throw down my mic.
It's throwing down his microphone, I guess.
I'm your host, ADV. Thank you guys for joining me.
And
also joining me is the wise Wisconsinite, Mr. Jesse Douglas.
How's it going?
Also, Bossman himself, head of NGR Radio, making the awesome artwork, and helping us be professional with our content, Mr. Corey Dirrig.
I'm here. Woo!
Yes.
Sorry, Power Block went a little bit longer than I really expected it to.
Yes. So, everybody, which is funny that you mentioned Power Block, Corey. We're going to switch it up a little bit for Arsenal X. If you guys seen our video, how we're going to be changing things, we actually was having a really good discussion. So this is not part of our our Arsenal exchange, but this kind of dealt with what's been in our arsenal. We all been playing a little different stuff. I finished Anthem. Corey's been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Jesse got back into Ashen, and we've been playing stuff for Switch and other consoles and stuff. But we were talking about Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5. So we're gonna actually have this this gear up kind of discussion. This is part 2.
I see what he did there.
Yes. This is a part 2 from what we was talking about from Nintendo Power Block. So we were talking about the coalition kind of needing to evolve Gears 5. We have an anticipation, we're all looking forward to it. Jesse, you had a thought that she wanted to bring out, so I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us what this new thought about. And everybody, I want to say, do check out the discussion on Nintendo Power Block to understand why we're having this discussion, this gear up discussion. So go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, so I mean, like in reality, it's kind of a pipe dream, but like as you guys were talking, I was just kind of trying to think of like games that I could compare Gears of War to, but like that maybe like did it a little bit better, like even at the same time, or like that Gears has been out. And I was like, I just kind of all of a sudden had an epiphany that like I really wish the guys who made Dead Space would have been able to join, like, because I feel like Dead Space, like, there's some similarities in some of their kind of weird, crazy weapons that you used in Dead Space, like that I feel like could kind of, like, their versions of it could work in Gears of War.
Yeah.
But I feel like Dead Space did like some of the, like the blade gun, the blade that shoots the saw blades. Like that was in Dead Space. Like they did that, and they did it way better. Like just the way that the gun shot and everything, and the way they made it easy to kind of line it up and like see kind of where you're shooting the blades and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like if the guys who like helped make those Dead Space games were to team up with the
Coalition.
With Coalition, dude, I think they would make one of the coolest looking like versions of the game that like has ever been made. Because you still had that kind of a tanky somewhat feel of like in Dead Space, but I feel like you still moved better. Like you still moved a little bit more smoother and more, like it's still like it just felt better. Like obviously the whole hiding mechanic stuff would be new to the Dead Space kind of game, because there really wasn't that kind of mechanic in that game. But I feel like all that kind of stuff Dead Space or they do really well in Gears of War, like the hiding behind stuff, combat stuff. But I feel like the Dead Space almost does that third person kind of style, like a bulky character feeling, but still makes everything move really smoothly and the shooting really well, and like making it, like their guns in Dead Space, all of them have their own unique kind of thing that they do, but none of them ever feel like they're useless compared to another one.
Yeah, I mean, how many times in the Squad Goals recordings have I said, man, I would really like to use another gun, but these guns, like the shotgun is already so OP, like you don't want to lose your shotgun, and then the Lancer is like the best all-around weapon, so like why would you ever use anything else? It's got range, it's got a big clipped, and it's got the chainsaw on the end, so why would you ever use anything else? And it's like, I would like to use the torque bow, but when you pick up the ammo crates, you don't get the power weapon ammo, and you have to pick up you have to pick that ammo up off of the dead enemies that use it, right? That's the only way you can get ammo for those weapons. So it's like, well, I don't want to lose this gun because I don't know when I'm going to find an enemy with a Lancer to replace it with. And like the hammer burst is just that they've never known what to do with that weapon. Like it's this is the fifth Gears game, and I think it's changed 3 times since Gears 1. So like
they had an adjustment too.
Okay. It was a 3-shot burst, I think, in the first game, and then they changed it to a single-shot burst in the second and third game, and then they did something really weird with it in Judgment. I don't really remember, and then they switched it back to like this weird like faster 3-round burst again. Like it's just like pick one, like do something with this gun, and like they have that weird, like they have the weird retro Lancer with the real bayonet on the front of it, and it's like there's not enough room in the game for you to utilize this. It was introduced in 3, and it was a cool idea, right? It's just like, oh well, this is just like a clunky machine gun that has big impact but low rate of fire, and it's like, okay, for some sort of like multiplayer stuff, that's cool for balancing reasons. And the bayonet thing was cool like the first time you did it, but the chainsaw still felt way more satisfying. But this is Gears 4, and it takes place like in the future. Why are these guns still laying around?
I think the thing with me is that the coalition the coalition has to deal with familiarity versus strategy, because if everything just feels familiar, you don't even think about strategy. All you think is hide and shoot and go for it. Like the weapons don't play a big part, because if you make one weapon that could do the job throughout the whole game or throughout the whole level, everything else just seems minus. There's no worth of getting those.
And like taking away the 4-player co-op really like makes you lack the strategy that you would want in a tactical shooter like this, where like how many times, Jesse, has the AI just kind of been bumbling around in front of us, not really doing anything, right? And it's like Gears 2 or Gears 3. I don't think Gears 2 was 4-player, but Gears 3 was 4-player, and like you could really set up strategies going into these big arenas to take guys out. You could send 2 people to flank one way, you could leave one guy in the middle, you could send one guy over to a turret. Like there's a lot of different things you could do with that, and like taking it back down to 2 people was like not. I understand they wanted to like get back to like the darker roots of the first game and like make it scarier and whatnot, but like that's not what Gears is anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want that 4-player co-op. You have 4, like, there's 4 players and 2 of them don't do anything. Like, why are they in my way? First of all, and like, why, if I get down, why aren't they reviving me? You know, the AI, like the partner AI in Gears has never been great, but like in Gears 4, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. And when you're playing games like, you know, I know we're going to get to Halo at the end, towards the end of the show, which I am actually really excited to talk about Halo Infinite.
Yes.
But like, we talked a long time ago, what does Halo need to do to evolve? And like, I think Halo 5 was the correct step in the right direction, and Halo Infinite sounds like it's moving in a different direction, or not a different direction, but like a better direction for the series. And like,
especially with the weapons.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the weapons feel more useful in that game.
Everything. Like, even if you don't like the weapons, you know what their purpose is, right? Like, the Promethean weapons, like, or even the Covenant weapons. Like, you know the plasma pistol's a crappy weapon, but if you have it, you know you charge it up to take the enemy shields down, then you switch to your primary weapon and take them down, right? That's that primary function of that weapon. You know what the weapons do. Whereas in Gears, you're like, I guess I'm sticking with the shotgun because it can take enemies down the fastest.
And see, and Halo keeps you on your toes. It keeps you switching up the strategy when you get that gun. And because it's not cover based and you're just in an open area, your limits, the ammo that's in that fight is limited to what you're going to have. And when you are empty out, you better make sure that you kill the enemy so you can grab their gun, and it keeps on switching.
Yeah, I mean that is the one thing I don't really care for in Halo, though, is like, I when I play games like this, I like to have one gun that I know I'm gonna, like, my safety net gun, where like, okay, I know I'm gonna be productive with this weapon. I want to at least keep this, but I want that second slot to be the gun that I can like experiment with, or you know, be the one that I replace when I run out of ammo on another weapon, right? That's how I like to play games. And like Halo does an okay job, but it could be do a better job, because I found myself really switching guns in Halo, especially to weapons that I didn't really care for. But in Gears, like we said earlier, it just feels like none of the other weapons have a use. Like all the
the power weapons don't even, like, you have a sniper rifle. Like the whole idea of a sniper rifle is it's supposed to kill things faster, and it seems like it shouldn't take 4-5 shots or whatever it takes. A sniper rifle.
The only power weapon that has any use in Gears is the boom shot. Yeah, like the boom shot is the only power weapon, and like you might as well just get rid. Those submachine guns at the beginning of the game when you're fighting the DBs at the beginning, those are they called, the enforcers? You might as well just not even pick those up. You might as well just punch the guy, because those weapons are just, they don't work.
And then I think that's why in past episodes of Arsenex, we had a discussion of taking Gears 5 open world, in a sense, to go out and explore, to get parts that enhance your gun. We don't know if we're going to see that or anything, but
out of all the games that Microsoft has at their disposal, like even playing Crackdown 3, like the shooting in Crackdown 3 feels like, say what you will about that game, and I know it's not the same type of third-person shooting, but like that shooting in that game feels way better than Gears does right now, and that's saying something, because Gears is supposed to be like they're if you would say like Halo is the Superman of Xbox's arsenal, Gears is supposed to be the Batman, right? Where it's like, these are your two flagship franchises, and your one feels archaic. And like, out of the two franchises that deserve some sort of like, not that I would really care if they did this or not, but a games as a service model, and it kind of looks like Halo's moving that direction a little bit. Like, Gears is the one that you want to make like The Division or you know, Destiny or something too, because like it's all about this broken world where you're you could go around finding parts in scrap towns or whatever, and like upgrade your weapons or find cool things to attach your weapons. Like, Gears needs to evolve, and I think the proper model for Gears to move forward, just look at the Division. Look what the Division is doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That third-person shooting is almost perfect. The movement feels really good. Getting in and out of cover feels good. Finding, like, making your way around the map and just, you know, utilizing the verticality of the spaces that you're in, like, the Division feels really good. And like I said on a previous episode, what Halo did for first-person shooters on consoles, and then what Call of Duty kind of evolved on that, and now we've moved into other games that do first-person shooting really well, and it's almost like, well, we've come to a new standard of first-person shooting. To me, like, yeah, I know that Gears of War was heavily inspired by Resident Evil 4 in terms of third-person action shooting, but the Division is the new standard in third-person shooting. And you know, I haven't played Dead Space, so I don't really know a lot about how those mechanics work.
But Dead Space has the same, like, over the shoulder.
Right. I know that it's a third person shooter. I just haven't played it to get a feel of like how it feels and whatever. Okay. But if you want to look at a new standard in third person shooters, like, I really believe that the Division is that. And so if you want to climb back on top of that race and be the king of third person shooters again, I think you really need to take a hard look at the Division and see what they're doing. Because I think the Division 1 and what I've played of the Division 2 in terms of the betas and everything, like, that's what you need to look at. And I think that they need to take notes and take a real hard look at Gears 5.
Yeah, that pretty means that they have to take that different perspective, because the over the shoulder thing, if they're going to go in the Division, you need to see the whole body. You need to see a bigger landscape. You could still put the cover, you know, the set pieces to cover basic stuff, but make it so open that you could run around, you could frag them, or you could use your special weapon or get a spot to snipe them, or be able, if you want to use that saw gun, that it's an area that's so cool that does tricks and stuff, you could shoot them without even affecting your other teammates and stuff. Like, if they're going to do that for Gears 5, and they have a possibility to do that, I really, a demo would definitely help us. I really think at E3 of Coalition be like, here's a level demo.
Yeah, if they show a Gears 5 demo at E3 that looks like Gears 4, I'm going to be really disappointed. Like, okay, we're going in this direction. We're going to, like, if they just show a straight up gameplay demo of two guys going in, they go into this, you know, dark corridor or whatever, and then you get into this big open room and there's waist high walls that are clearly cover for an arena based tactical shooter, I'm going to be really disappointed unless, like, they're moving quicker, they're getting in and out of cover quicker. You know, that's my whole thing, is like they need to change the way this game feels, because I mean, look at all the third person shooter games that are out there right now. You got Fortnite, you got PUBG, you've got the Division. What's the other big one that's out right now? I can't really remember the other big one that's out right now.
You got, like, even Tom Clancy's Wildlands. You got
Ghost Recon. Like, you look at all these games and you're just like, man, these games all feel really, like, say what you will about, like, the proper game design of these games, but, like, you know, Wildlands kind of changed up what Ghost Recon is, you know, a little bit, and, like, it's very a territorial based stuff, and I know the Division is an RPG, and I know PUBG doesn't have a really good controller mapping for their controls, but, like, all these games, their shooting feels really good. Look at Fortnite, shooting feels really good, even if you're not into battle royale games or building or anything. Like, the shooting still feels really good and comparable, and it's like Gears feels archaic, you know. So I don't know how much I can I can say.
I was gonna say, like, one other thing too is I feel like if they opened it up a little bit more, they could also, instead of just giving you different kinds of like grenades and stuff as like your throwable thing, they could also have things where you could set up like traps, like things that lay down, like similar to stuff that you have in like Siege and things like that, where you can just kind of set up a trap. So if they're trying to flank you from one side, like and you can't cover that a certain area, then you can have a trap set up there that will at least kill the first person who tries to flank you from that side, so you can kind of get a couple of seconds to be able to re-strategize what you want to do. And things like that, like they could just do more and make the weapons feel more useful, and that alone would be such a massive change to the franchise, in my opinion.
They have that with the box D, but it would be cool if you just like one of your players, he's a technician in his backpack, it's bigger to hold that stuff. So bam, you guys are going to him to get stuff to hide on. You're hearing the monsters and stuff coming. That way you got everything planned. And maybe, you don't do nothing. Maybe you do fight them and die to see how things go. So next time when you do play them, you could just put that stuff up. Even if you're playing on harder difficulty, you have ways to now really not just power through it, but you have like cool and strategic ways to get through a battle with all your friends, or even by yourself with the AI and stuff. So
give it like even if you're playing by yourself, like. Take away the D-pad like weapon system too, because like you don't really need that. There's been better configurations, and I actually really liked Judgment for doing that. Judgment took away the D-pad gun switching stuff and actually added some features that they took out for 4. But like even like Mass Effect 2 and 3 had your squad mates on the D-pad, and you could direct your squad mates and they could go get behind cover, or you could tell them to go to a turret, or use steal Apex's pinging system, and maybe attach add your AI to like, hey, I'm pinging this turret, so one of you can go over there and try to do that. Or you ping like the big guy and have one of your characters go after the bigger like guy that just how many times that last episode of Squad Goals, Jesse, did we feel like those guys were taking 3 and 4 full clips of bullets, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, you just let me have somebody do something. Let me tell my squad mates to do something instead of like spinning around in circles and getting downed and being a nuisance.
And that would help you, like Jesse, your trap theory. That would really help with that ping system, but like would definitely help it. So that way you can even trick the enemy to fall into those traps and stuff. Like
that's what I was thinking, is like having some kind of system where traps and like other ways to handle a situation than just shooting a bunch of bullets and a guy and it's still not killing them.
Also, oh, sorry, Jesse, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, we talked about a long time ago, where I think Gear, if they don't want to do like that kind of thing, like the Division, like they can move into almost like a class-based system. We talked about that on an expansion pack a long time ago, where like if they went to like a class-based system, you could have like, okay, this guy's obviously bigger, but he can do like a lot of damage and take a lot of damage and maybe be like your demolitions guy. This is the guy you want to go set up traps or take on the bigger enemies, and then you have your smaller characters that are they might be faster, but they can get taken down faster, but they're obviously going to be your sniper and hide back, and then you have your basic soldier and maybe your engineer who can like maybe add a crafting system where like, hey, I need incendiary grenades, and you have your engineer go find scraps to make incendiary grenades, like that kind of thing. Like little things that I don't want this game to become too overly complicated, but at the same time it needs to add little things to make it different from Gears 1. Gears
break that familiarity. Gears got to break it.
As much as I love Gears, like Gears 4 really does feel like a kind of updated version of Gears 1, and it almost feels like what Crackdown 3 is today, where it's like it's a better, improved version of that original game, which is fine, but like in this day and age, you can't just have a game that's fine. You need
and being familiar works for Crackdown. It doesn't for this game because there's so many other games that are doing it better.
To be fair, this is only the third Crackdown game, and this is Gears 5 is going to be the 6th or 7th Gears game.
6th game.
So, yeah. I don't know. I would really like them to change it up. I would actually really like to see some spin-off games go in different directions, and I know we're getting Gears Tactics, which is basically Gears XCOM, which looks amazing. I hope it comes to console. I don't really care for PC games all that much. But, Gears is actually the perfect game to be set in an XCOM style strategy game, I think. Mm-hmm. I have a lot to say about Halo 2, but it kind of goes into this conversation, but I know that's like the last thing we're talking about. So
yeah. So everybody, we just got geared up. So we're going to get to some Arsenal news on this next part. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. My thing froze. Okay, there we go. Come on, news thing. Come on, computer.
Well, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it's fantastic. I'm just filling the void while its computer loads. By the way, guys, it's like $20 this week, and if you want to download it on Xbox Live, I highly recommend it because it is a fun video game that I've put 12 hours into, and I'm only in the second area, and I know there's like 40 areas, so I'm really scared to keep going.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Corey. So everybody,
that's why I'm here. Just
we're jumping into our Arsenal news. We got 2 stories for you. Report this. But this has been reported, pretty much a rumor, so you can take it with a grain of salt. That there's going to be a discless Xbox One.
That's probably smart. I mean, I feel like this rumor has kind of been around since almost the 360 era, but the world was not ready for a discless 360 at that point, and I would argue that maybe the world isn't ready for a discless Xbox One. But I think it's smart to do this at the end, especially I think this is more a product to study and kind of work off statistics for it instead of like a product that they're really betting to make money off of. I think it's a system they kind of want to incorporate into the next Xbox, where like we have this discless system. We want somebody to subscribe to Game Pass and Xbox Live and get this discless system, and that's how they're going to play their games, right? And I mean, this system, first of all, it better have a big hard drive if this is the system you're expecting to get people in on Game Pass with. B, it better come with a 3-month subscription to Game Pass and a 3-month subscription to Xbox Live in the box. You could sell that if you could get this box into people's hands for $150. That's a game changer. That is such a game changer. Where like I have a $150 box. I have this $10 a month Game Pass. I have Xbox Live. I get all Microsoft's first-party games for free. I get, all these cool other games like Saints Row, and Fallout 4 is coming back to Game Pass because Fallout 76 didn't do well. Microsoft is making some bold moves.
Well, before we get more into it, because I'm going to let you give your opinion too, Jesse. According to Windows Central, and this story comes from Game Informer, the console is codenamed the Xbox Maverick. The actual name, however, is reported to be the Xbox One S All Digital Edition. The console will be a normal Xbox One S, but all games will be digital, like a PSP Go or a tablet or phone. The idea is certainly not alien, but very rarely used on consoles. The hope is for the console to be cheaper than a regular Xbox One S, gas, but it is unclear how much money removing the disk drive will save both Microsoft and consumers. Still, for users who don't want to buy physical games and publishers who want to stop making physical games, the prospect is likely appealing. And there's a possibility that this digital-only Xbox may come out in May. Jesse, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I think this like kind of just basically adding to what Corey said. It's basically I feel the same way as him. I think this is gonna be something that also will probably be you'll be able to use it in the future as once xCloud becomes something. Mm-hmm. Like you'll be able to stream your games from it and stuff like that. I think that's they kind of want to test now, like see how well a console with no disc would sell, and so then in the future if they do want to, like make an updated version of it or something, which I don't think they would really end up needing to do. Mm-hmm. But they could make like a different version or something that looks more like the new Xbox or something, who knows. But I think ultimately like this is going to be like kind of them coming up with a version that doesn't have a disc of a console that will eventually be able to play, the next generation of games through the xCloud,
Well, I think if this does happen, because it is a rumor, I think we'll probably get two models. I think there's going to be a 500 gig. That's going to be cheaper. I think for me personally, it would be smart to do a 1 terabyte and make it probably because I think Xbox One is what $299.99.
Well, I honestly think it should be 2 and 4. Two being the lower end one, 2 terabytes. Mm-hmm. And 4 terabytes being the higher end one.
The only thing about having 4 terabytes is that would make it just as expensive as the disc version of Xbox One. And I think the point of this console is like to get it in at that under $200 mark. I actually think they want to put it at a $150 mark, and like minimum it has to have a 1 terabyte hard drive. And if you're gonna do that, you might as well just put a 2 terabyte drive in there.
I think a 500 gig terabyte. I'm not 500 gig. Goodness, a 500 gig would do them fine to get to that 150, Corey.
I think that would only be worth 100.
But this is the reason why. It's because it's going to come with where you can have an external hard drive, so you can add on if you want to.
But
so,
I don't think a lot of like I think if you like this box is going to be for the quote unquote probably the casual gamer who only buys 1 or 2 games a year, and then they want Game Pass because it's $10 a month, right? And so like you're gonna. I don't think those type of people really want to mess with external drives. Very few people. I think the statistic out there is only like 18% of the people who use Xbox One use an external drive of some sort. And like I think they want
to have that option out there.
Right, it's still an option.
Because you kind of got to think about this. This one is going to alienate some consumers.
Well, that's fine. Because I don't think it's not for everybody. And like, I think if they have a 500 gig drive, it's going to be $100. I think if they have a 500 gig model, it'll be $100. And then you have a 1 terabyte and a 2 terabyte model, which goes up $50 each time, to the point where like it's still under $200 if you have a 2 terabyte drive in there.
Because this excludes all used games. So those gamers who do pick up the 1 or 2 games might also pick up a lot of used games and stuff for their library. Well, all of this is excluded from them. This is not the system for them.
Right.
They should, of course, you still gonna have to have Xbox Live. You can do Game Pass. Taking some games on, taking some games off. But it depends on how long that game is gonna be on Game Pass. So that's gonna be up to that person. And they'll still get the offers and stuff. I just think that if they're trying to do if they're trying to do a lot of games with Game Pass, like downloading them and stuff, and those games also have bigger updates and stuff, they're going to need an external hard drive to make sure that they don't reach that 500 gig. Because like Red Dead Revolver, like let's say they want to buy that, that's like 100 gigs already on that system.
Well, I don't think they're aiming for that crowd though with this box. That's what I'm trying. That's my point. Is like, I think the people that want to play
a lot of digital.
I think the people. I think the people that want to play Red Dead are going to. Well, they probably have an X because they want to see how beautiful it looks, and like, you know, I know people who have upgraded to an X to play Red Dead and you know, other more recent games, but like, you know, I don't think they're aiming for that crowd. I think they're aiming for the people who maybe have a PlayStation already and like they haven't jumped on the Xbox bandwagon yet.
But this is a good entryway for them.
Like a 1 terabyte discless edition where I pay $10 a month to play all the Xbox exclusives I've already missed. Like that's the big selling point for Game Pass, right? Is that you get all Microsoft's first party games. And like if they already playing their games on another system, this Xbox is appealing to buy at the end of a console generation because you have all these awesome exclusives like Sunset Overdrive and Quantum Break and Halo 5 and Gears 4 and Forza and all these other awesome first-party Microsoft games that you might have missed over the years. So,
but you're still risking of that game being taken off. It's just what I'm saying. Like
that's fine, but I think Microsoft. I don't think Microsoft will ever remove any first-party games.
Not the first party. I'm just talking about like the third and indies and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I know.
That time stuff that some gamers may want. I'm just saying that, you know, they still risk that if they download and take it off, and let's just say they want to go back to it and stuff, but it's not on there no more. So now they have the option. The only option that they have is to buy it or just never play it. Or
that's the thing is they're still in the business of trying to sell games.
Oh yeah.
They can't just, you know, they just can't do that. They can't keep games on there and make it enticing 100% that people can go there to never have to buy a game, because they still want you to buy games.
Yeah, I mean that's why a lot of the games are 360 games or indie games and not like, you know, Red Dead's never going to be on Game Pass, right? Or Call of Duty's never going to be on Game Pass. But again, like it's similar to Game Pass. Like if you want to play a lot of these other games, like EA Access is a perfectly viable thing to download too, where like I can play Mass Effect, I can play Unraveled, I can play Battlefront 2, I can play Battlefield, like I can play all these awesome EA games there as well within a couple months of release, or, you know, go back to Mass Effect or Dead Space or some of these other cool games that they've done. You know, I actually really like this idea. Obviously, it's not going to be for us because we like to have bigger collections, and you know, Jesse and I both have X's and like to use that to play. But like, as someone who, as you know, someone who is a quote unquote casual fan of Xbox games, maybe they've played Halo and they didn't jump on an Xbox One this generation, and they're like, oh well, I guess, you know, we can watch Netflix on it, we can try out this Game Pass, and maybe they really enjoy what they play Halo 5 and like, oh man, this is awesome, I can, and then that'll lead them to other games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay, and then, oh, these games are cool, and then that you have the recommendation list under these games when you go into the store, and you're like, oh man, maybe I will check out this other game. Oh, I don't have enough space. Well, then that's when they'll get that external drive and start downloading other games, and that's how you get people invested in your ecosystem.
And that's the thing. Definitely with me being in retail and stuff, when people be like, when parents are buying it for kids and stuff, or even for adults, they'd be like, what's all the stuff that I need for the system? I mean, and that would be good if they're going to be doing a lot of playing on Xbox if it's within reason, within their budget. You could tell them all the stuff with Game Pass, Xbox Live Gold, Games with Gold, and stuff like that. But you're going to at some point have to tell them that now this only, even though this comes with a 500 gig, we recommend an external hard drive. It goes up to this. Like, you can recommend that stuff, and you kind of just want to be prepared in case if you're a person who wants to start those games that's not coming to Game Pass, but the digital version is available to buy. It's the ease of convenience and stuff, whether you're casual or hardcore and stuff. It's just there, kind of like almost a safety net in a sense. You may never use it, but at least you have it there in case of anything happens. You're not being mindful of what your storage is at or checking up your storage, and you just be like, okay, I got my external hard drive hooked up. It's gonna shoot down there with that game and the updates. Yeah, I'm good to go, and be fine with it and stuff. I
just think the 500 gig though is obsolete at this point. It's just not an option anymore to put in a system because that's been gone since the original Xbox. So,
they still have 500 gig S's out there.
Do they?
Yeah, my cousin just bought one.
I think just the 500 gig is just, when it says a cheaper alternative, I think they would start out with the 500 gig.
The other thing too is a lot of people don't buy as many games as we do.
Yeah.
A lot of people only buy 5 to 10 games a generation, and it's they're fine with that. And 500 gigs is totally serviceable for that person.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you're trying to attach a system to Game Pass, it doesn't really make sense. But that is a total my cousin has an Xbox and he has 4 games, right? He has Fortnite, he has Minecraft, he has Star Wars Battlefront 2, and he has Lego Star Wars. I mean, granted, he's 9 or 10, but he's totally happy with those games. And he has never, I think the next game he'll probably get is that he loves Star Wars. He's obsessed with Star Wars. So I guess Jedi Fallen Order, I don't think he really knows about it yet, but when that game comes out, I'm sure he's going to be really excited for that. And they signed up for Game Pass, and he found Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens. He found Lego Batman. They signed up for Game Pass, and because I told them about it, I'm like, hey, Xbox has a subscription service that you might want to check out. It's, you get all these cool games for $10 a month. It's kind of like Netflix, but for Xbox games. Dude, they haven't bought in a game since. It's just Game Pass is something that people buy Xboxes for now.
Yeah, but sometimes you just want to be fair. But we're gonna move on to the next.
But I'm not done. I'm just kidding. Just to wrap it up, I think the discless Xbox One is a cool idea, and I hope it works out well for them.
Yes. So we're going to move on to the next story. Halo Infinite to be a spiritual reboot, according to 343. As part of IGN's unfiltered video series in their continued talk with Bonnie Ross, head of Microsoft 343 Studios, a little bit was talked about Halo Infinite. The next game in the Visceral first-person shooter series has already been announced, but Microsoft hasn't talked much about the new game. Ross has indicated that 343 wants to go in a new direction with the game. However, during the interview, Ross indicates that the studio is thinking of Halo Infinite as a spiritual reboot after getting their legs stable on the previous 2 games. He quotes, "There has been a lot of introspective time to really reflect on what's done at 343. Where have we made mistakes? Where have we hit it right? What does Halo mean to all of us? That trailer for Halo Infinite we did is what Halo means to the studio. Maybe it took us 2 games to get there, and I think we've done good things and bad things. But what does Halo mean to us? It is about hope and wonder and heroism and humanity and community and bringing a community together. That's what that trailer is, and that's what we want to do. There have been rumors that Halo Infinite will focus more on RPG mechanics and branching story paths than the series has before. This might fit in with Ross' description of Halo Infinite as a soft reboot for the series. The game is speculated to be a launch title for the successor to the Xbox One." So Corey, you said this. Go ahead with the thoughts, and then Jesse, you can follow up follow up after him because.
Sorry.
I was. No.
Sorry, I keep interrupting people, and I'm really bad at that. I'm sorry. I think when they say spiritual reboot, I think they're just gonna. I think the story is gonna continue, right, from Halo 5, and I think what they mean by spiritual reboot, I think they're just gonna kind of redefine, how Halo feels and what you think of when you play Halo and that kind of thing. I don't really think it's going to be a reboot of Halo, right? Halo's lore and story is too important to a lot of Halo fans and non-Halo fans. Like, people know Halo for it's one of the last kind of, well, not really now, but in the last decade or so, it's really one of the last kind of campaign-driven first-person shooters. Like, people love the campaigns of Halo. Now we've gotten Doom and Wolfenstein, and Bethesda's really kind of brought back the first-person campaign-style shooters. But Halo has been known for that since the beginning, and it'd be a shame just to throw away the last 6 or 7 games just to reboot the series, quote unquote. So I think what they're doing is kind of the spiritual reboot. It's going to take place probably on a Halo ring. It's going to feel like Halo, but they're going to make some evolutions to how it feels, and I think adding RPG mechanics is smart. Like we talked about on an expansion pass, how does Halo need to evolve? I think adding almost Destiny-like mechanics to Halo would be a really smart idea. I not necessarily deep RPG mechanics or subclasses or anything like that, but really adding replayable missions, I think would be really cool. RPG mechanics in terms of upgrading your armor and unlocking cool helmets, and I think you're still going to get Master Chief's story, but I think, in Halo 4, in Halo 5, you have your own Spartan that you can customize and unlock helmets and chest pieces and stuff, and I think it'd be really cool to be able to use RPG mechanics to unlock and create cooler armor for your Spartans as you go on these replayable missions with your squad, and maybe find better attachments for your weapons, because they played around with that a little bit in Warzone. I don't know if we really got into Warzone all that much, but they played around with customizing things like the Warthog with the rocket launcher on the back, or battle rifles with different types of scopes or rate of fire on them, or what I mean. They've played around with weapons a little bit in that mode specifically. And I think if they transferred that type of thing over to the main game, I think that would go a long way. Because, I really like Halo 5's multiplayer, but, Jesse, we kind of talked about it, and it's there's not really a sense of progression in terms of Halo's multiplayer. You're just kind of playing it to play it because it feels fun, which is, fine, but in a world with Call of Duty and Destiny and Battlefield with bars that fill up and unlockables and perks and special abilities Halo, Gears, this is where it ties back into Gears, some of Halo's simplicity, not the way the game feels to play, but just in terms of how you unlock things and stuff, kind of feels left behind.
It feels like that Halo multiplayer is trying to keep that signature feel that when the first Halo came out, and what their multiplayer has been throughout the series.
Well, that arena style. Yeah. Because Unreal Tournament and stuff like that, and that is something that I do like about Halo. I do kind of like that they have that. But I think I can also agree with what Corey is saying, though, and saying that they need to make things the unlockable stuff. If you're going to be able to do that kind of stuff, they need to make it feel more worth sticking your time into playing to unlock things, and just make it have a better sense of progression, like you said. Yeah, but they could still keep it the same, keep that old school, arena style.
Yeah.
Well, for some people, they may feel like that it loses that appeal when you add that kind of mechanic of working your way to unlock something. I think some people might still just feel that it would be cool to at least have the option to be like, what, this mode is where you do all your unlocking. This mode of multiplayer is just traditional. It's old. It's separated. If you want the old style of Halo, you could play this. But if you want,
you could have casual and ranked.
Yeah.
Like casual is where you would do all your progression. Ranked is where you'd go once you feel like you've got the ultimate setup for your character that you wanted, and that's where you want to put it to the test and try to push yourself. Like they could do something like that.
I think the thing with me is did you have anything else to say, Jesse? Did I interrupt? I didn't know if I
No, not really. I mean,
I'm at odds with this in a sense. Just reading it and hearing about like a spiritual reboot. I know when we looked at the trailer and everything, I didn't get the hope and heroism in all of this. It kind of just showed off what your engine can do. And Halo is going to be the first game to use this engine. And because when we all watched it on E3, we were just like, what is this game about? It looks beautiful. And we was confused. Like, is this Black Ops? Is this some kind of other game? Like, what is this? Like, I didn't get the heroism and community and all of that stuff from that trailer. So that's why I kind of feel at odds. It's just like, how is this going to be a spiritual reboot where if you feel like that came from your trailer, like all the stuff that he said at the beginning and stuff, it feel that way. So I it's definitely PR speak to me. I completely feel like it's PR speak to me.
Well, I think it's what you said, PR speak, just because like I think that's why they didn't call it Halo 6 also, because like when you get numbers that high, it's the same reason why Assassin's Creed stopped using numbers, because like when you get that high up in numbers, it's really hard to get people into the series when numbers are that high, because they feel like they have to like really get into the series from the beginning, right? Sorry, my phone decided to listen to what I was saying and it's distracted me. And that's why they're not calling it Halo 6, because even if you didn't play Reach or ODST or Halo Wars or anything, there's still 5 mainline games that you might need to catch up in the story. And like if you just call it Halo Infinite, it's easier to get new fans in, and even though like technically it really doesn't make sense because all the games are on Game Pass now, and whatever, but it's just easier to get your fan base in there and try it out and everything. So
it's the number sequel versus the wording,
right?
Kind of deal. It's just that I'm looking forward to see what they're gonna do at E3, because I'm hoping, and I'm gonna try to probably bookmark this story, that I'm hoping that everything that he said on Unfiltered, that all about this heroism and all of this stuff, I want to see that in your new trailer, because if none of that is there in the new trailer, then what is the spiritual reboot? Because
I mean, like I said though, spiritual reboot doesn't necessarily mean from a story standpoint. It just means from like a gameplay, what it means to be playing Halo, what Halo means moving forward, and like you said, there's probably going to be some sort of light RPG mechanics, which is great. Like imagine going in. This is kind of what I wanted to say earlier, but we never really got there. But I'm a Spartan that. Maybe I have farmed going in and killing Covenant and elites and going in and taking down this elite encampment on a mission, and I grind out parts to form elite style armor, and you can have like this really cool armor that's kind of themed after elites, and it gives you special abilities, like maybe you're a little bit faster but you take more damage, but your melee is stronger because elites use the swords, right? Like maybe that's what that armor does. Or you go to a Forerunner planet and you farm all this Promethean gear and this Forerunner gear, and you have like that really cool orange glowing lights on you with some really cool like silver and white armor that like gives you special Promethean abilities. Like I think that would be really cool because that's something that Destiny does really well.
Do you think that? Do you think that 343 is time for them to ditch the linear experience?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think what they're gonna do here is like they're gonna have like a kind of like a main campaign, but you can kind of tackle the missions however you want, and it's gonna be kind of like this, similar. It's not super similar, but similar to what almost Telltale does, where like you all start at the same point. You get to tackle like these missions however you want in like this big kind of bubble, and it all comes together. It's like the diamond effect, where like you start at one point, you kind of fill in your diamond however you feel like tackling these missions, and you all kind of come together at the end. And then from there, like the DLC will be like these short campaigns similar to what Halo 4 did with those. Remember those special ops co-op campaigns that they had? And every week there was like 2 seasons of it, I think, and then it just didn't go well because the missions weren't great. But like that style of thing where like we're gonna have a season of content where every week we're gonna have a new mission for you to tackle with your friends, and you go out and do this, and you farm materials, and then you at the end, if you complete all the missions, like you get a cool set of armor to use in multiplayer or something.
So it's nothing new to the fan base or to the gamer. It's just now caught up to a lot of modern games. In a sense.
And like, don't get me wrong, I don't want Halo to become Destiny. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But like, I think they could take some ideas from something like Destiny or Anthem or the Division.
Yeah, I think actually Anthem would suit it better. Like the idea of you being able, because like here you are, Master Chief. You've got this big, armor that you're wearing that looks like it should have like cannons on it and things like that, like it should be weaponized.
Yeah, because you almost look like Iron Man or War Machine almost.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like something that's supposed to be weaponized, but still you're wearing this big armor and your only weapon is still something you have to pick up. Like it just doesn't, like, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense. Like,
I think they could add like, if they like, depending on what set of armor you're wearing, if they added like a special ability, similar to what Destiny does, like or even Anthem, right, where like, okay, the Ranger has the kind of like that spread missile, homing missile thing for their special, or the Colossus has the giant shield or whatever. Like, there's all these different types of Spartans that specialize in different things, and if you were able to customize your
which is
Spartan,
basically like a class for them.
Yeah. I actually think Anthem, like you said, Jesse, I think Anthem is actually the better analog, in terms of customizing your suit and
similar.
having it do certain things. So, yeah, I think they could look at all these games and take ideas from these games and make it their own, because Halo is still a really important franchise, not just to Xbox, but to games, right? Like Halo means something to a lot of people, even if you're not a Halo fan. So, I would actually almost say Halo is almost the closest thing to Mario that gaming has besides Mario, right? Like, to me anyway, like I feel that way. I think if you mentioned Halo to a non-gamer, they would almost instantly recognize, at least, yeah, I know what Halo is,
Yeah. So Jesse, last words. Before you go, my last word is that I prove to me everything that you're saying at E3. I want to see if what they're saying is going to be representation of what Halo Infinite is going to be, or trying to imply. I want to see it at E3.
You know what? I mean, like, sorry, I know you said last words and we need to move on, but like, remember in Halo 3 and Halo Reach, the armor abilities? Like those would be really cool to like find and attach to your character as well. Like that's what I was saying. And the analog to Anthem would be like, I totally forgot that Halo already had these at one point, the armor abilities, and like that would be really cool if you could like go through and upgrade them, and maybe that's where your light RPG mechanics come around. Bring back the jetpack. Gosh, Halo Reach had that jetpack and it was amazing.
Jesse, last words.
Yeah, really. I guess all I'm gonna say is just like with what you read, like their statement on what the new Halo is gonna be, and them growing as a team. Like there's one thing that was in their statement that I think is very important, and that's the fact that they realized that they did stuff that worked, but also didn't work.
Yeah,
and for them to acknowledge that and tell us that is very important. Like in my opinion. So
yeah, because you get companies that really believe in their vision, and like even if people don't like it, they stick with it. Like I think Rockstar Games is a good example of that, where as beautiful and as amazing as Red Dead looks, right? I think a lot of people don't like the mechanics of actually playing that game, and that's just anecdotally. I didn't play it yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to it. But like the act of actually playing that game and actually having to holster your gun, unholster it, like that, those kind of like really deliberate mechanics, I think really hindered that game from being, considered one of the greatest games of all time. On websites and everything. I know we all are, and I know Ed has a very specific feeling about Rockstar Games, but I'm just saying in a general consensus, and the fact that 343 did come out and say that, being very transparent about how they felt about past games, good and bad, is important, like you said, Jesse. So, yeah.
So, everybody, that was our Arsenal news. We're going to get into our Arsenal exchange.
Can't wait for Halo.
So, we're going to get into our Arsenal exchange. So EA has announced that they're not going to have a conference at EA, but there will be EA Play throughout it. And the reason why I want to bring this up is I got to ask you guys, do you think that this is a win or a loss for EA or us? And do you think, was it because of the recession of last year's conference they decided not to do it? I don't think it has anything to do with money. There's just got to be something else too.
Well, someone argued that they didn't have a press conference last year.
You shady fool!
Hey, dude, man, their biggest announcement came from Vince Impella, who was sitting in the audience in a baseball hat. Okay, their press conference sucked last year. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Andrea did a great job hosting the show, and like she did with what material she had, she did a fantastic job. But come on, man, that press conference was terrible. It was terrible. And I'm not just saying that because it's EA. I'm saying that because it was a terrible press conference. And we've been watching E3 press conferences since 2001 on the internet. And the fact that they still came out and gave a terrible press conference and still don't know how to deliver one, especially after what Microsoft did the past 3 years, like, it was terrible. The fact that their biggest announcement came from basically, don't get me wrong, I love Respawn. I think what Vince Zampella is doing over there with Titanfall and Apex is fantastic. But the fact that their biggest announcement came from him when he didn't even know he was being like going to be interviewed about it or anything, like,
I don't even think that was their biggest announcement. I think everybody loved the two indie games that were shown, Unravel 2 and then that one lady's indie game. Everybody was talking more about that than what Respawn was talking about.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Star Wars thing was like as of right now. I'm pretty sure that's like everybody like. I mean, everybody's got an eye on EA because of their crappy Star Wars production anyway, in terms of producing games. But like, anyways, I think EA has been in a rough place for a while. You know, their sports games aren't getting any better. Some would argue they're getting worse. Madden. Hello. Hi, Madden. Sorry. 2019 sucked. It didn't suck. It was just their online was very questionable. In Battlefront 2, I think, you know, the microtransaction stuff what really hindered that game, even though mechanically that game is actually very good. But you know, I mean, it's EA, man. They've been in the negative spotlight for 6 or 7 years at this point, probably longer. I'm just giving them a benefit of the doubt. Closing studios, canceling games, not improving on the products that they put out every year, right? Like they just pushing out Battlefield 5 when it wasn't ready. The main selling point of that game is not even out yet. Their campaign isn't even finished. Like they're in a rough spot, and the fact that they don't have a press conference, I don't think it hurts them to not have a press conference this year. And whatever they're showing this year, live streams, like I actually think it benefits the games because like people will watch the segments that they want to watch instead of having to watch a full press conference to wait for like a 5-minute segment on something. You know, the sports people will get to watch their sports streams. The Star Wars people will get to watch their Battlefront 2 updates and their Jedi Fallen Order stream. Battlefield, I don't know what's happening with Battlefield, but I'm sure there's this crowd that'll watch that. Anthem, if it has a big expansion or update coming in the fall, people can watch that. Like, I actually think it helps them because people get to watch what they want to watch instead of tuning out when they don't get to hear what they want to hear.
So it's kind of like their Treehouse Live, but streamers are doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I think EA has products that work. I think they just there's been a lot of restructuring at EA lately in terms of who's running the company. You know, Patrick Soderlund left to start his own studio, so you know, there's a lot of executive changeover in the last couple years, and you know, it takes a long time to turn a large ship like EA, and let's just see what happens. You know, Ubisoft did it. Bethesda seems to have trying to do it right now. Let's see if EA can do it. You know, EA and Activision are both in rough spots, and right now I think, you know, I really don't know how to say, like, I think EA is kind of turning the ship into an upswing, but I still think they've got to go through some rough waters before they turn the ship. You know, like, it's rough. They're in a company as big as EA and has a lot of properties to promote and protect and make sure things go right. Like, you know, I don't really know what else to say. There's just a lot going on.
Jesse, what's your opinion about it? What's your viewpoint?
Yeah, I think this is probably gonna be good for them because they, you know, like with everything that's going on, I think it's probably best that they just kind of just stick to working on what they're working on and just put the time in there. And you know, like them not doing this is there, you know, there's no lost time then on working on what they're trying to get finished, you know, with the Respawn and, you know, working on the Star Wars game, and I think they're kind of gonna end up benefiting from us being at the end of the console you know, generation too as well. They don't have to get stuff out like next year. They can maybe wait another year or so, you know, or a half a year or whatever if they have to. I think I think like their biggest thing that they could do going into E3 is hope that their battle royale version of Battlefield is going to be something worth playing and worth streaming to get people interested in. Like I think that's what they're going to probably end up having to focus on, is just having like people streaming and playing their battle royale game and try to get people interested in it.
I think they do have two high points this year, though, EA, in terms of games. I think Apex, if you show new heroes and maybe a new map, like I think, or, kind of maybe even do what Fortnite does with their existing map, change it up every couple seasons to make it different and whatever. Like, I think that's a big thing for them if they show off new heroes for that. And I still think that the Star Wars game that they're going to put out this year is going to be, I think a lot of people are interested in that game. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, like, I think just the way EA has handled their Star Wars license, I think people are interested in that perspective. I want to see what that game looks like personally, because the creative team behind God of War 3 is actually working on this game, and I really liked God of War 3 in terms of combat mechanics and everything. So from that perspective, I'm interested in it. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I actually don't really care about Star Wars all that much. Like, I think there's cool parts of Star Wars, but I think a Jedi game with the lightsaber is a no-brainer, and the fact that they've had this license for 6 years and have not done that yet is mind-boggling.
Well, I think for me is that this is a win for EA, but I don't think it's a win on them because of games or anything. I think this is a win of them not being ridiculed. So now it's their time to really impress the viewers, to be like, okay, I really want to see what this is. Because the thing about it is that they could still fail on a level with this if they're not really saying much, if they're not giving us no actual release dates, if everything is going to be locked behind EA Premier and stuff like that. A lot of people are going to be watching and stuff and be very weary. But EA has to be like, you know what? It's none of that. This is the stuff that we are hoping that you guys are looking forward to. And in fact, this is the day for the beta that you guys could try it. No pre-orders or anything like that. Everybody gets it on that day, and really try to get people excited about playing their stuff. We already know about the sports stuff. That's fine, but people want to know about what new indie games are you going to bring? What are you not going to do what you did with the Command and Conquer stuff? Because everybody's going to be looking for that to ridicule EA for. Of course, EA is controlling the message and everything. But if they want to keep that, if they want to keep the people's trust and, that viewership high, they're going to really have to come out swinging. So even though you're not having a press conference, you are now responsible for the content that you bring. And if you don't bring it, people are going to be like, we don't even care that you didn't have a conference. You still was a letdown because you didn't deliver what you could have delivered. Yes, Apex Legend is a big hit. Battlefield 5's Battle Royale is probably going to have more new content. We'll still see some more Star Wars Battlefront stuff, but it's just like, you really got to come with it, and it's got to be worth the viewer's time. Because the thing about it is, if you're doing all of this stuff and the Nintendo Direct is more important and outdoes your whole EA Play thing, what did you come to E3 to do, and did you achieve that? So I mean, like, you really got to bring it and stuff. Even though this is a Microsoft show, that Nintendo Switch is important to EA right now. And if you continue to alienate those gamers, whatever you bring out and whatever you say and do is not going to matter, because you could have had a chance of redeeming yourself with having something on Nintendo Switch. Bethesda has done it. You know, you could say whatever you can about Fallout 76, but you still are getting Bethesda and Panic Button props for Doom 2, for Wolfenstein Youngbloods, that they're going to be that they're coming out on Nintendo Switch, and maybe Rage might come to Nintendo Switch. Who knows? We don't know that, but for all Bethesda went through, they are supporting Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo players are supporting Bethesda like never before. We know Bethesda for Fallout, but now they have kind of been known for more games now, and I think because of Nintendo, they really fully within Nintendo Switch, and that's actually what happened with Ubisoft. They, like you mentioned, Corey, they turned that around. So EA really needs to turn this around, and if they're gonna get the Frostbite engine on Switch trying to work, you got to bring it, and it's important for them. Xbox players are not going to be worried. PS4 players and PC players are not going to be worried about EA. You need that Nintendo fan base, because if that Nintendo fan base makes up majority of what all the other three consoles going to do, then you had a successful E3.
Well, I don't think EA needs a Nintendo. That's not a right statement to be making.
but the thing about it is that a lot of companies who have a lot of people who have been shown in a bad light for a lot of stuff. It's just that when their stuff came from Nintendo Switch, it kind of reboosts their love for that company and their products. You know, whatever you say, everything that happened with Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Unity with all those bugs have literally been forgotten because of not Rayman Legends, but Mario and Rabbids and stuff.
I mean, I don't think that's even the same audience.
But Ubisoft was in.
I don't think a lot of people even realize those games are made by the same company.
True, but Ubisoft was getting ridiculed for all of that stuff, and it felt like all of that stuff was forgotten when this crazy idea of a game came out and it sold and it worked. You know, if EA bought Plants vs. Zombies 3 and the Pigmen were in that game for Nintendo Switch exclusive, people probably would lose their minds.
Man, if they brought Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 3 to Switch, that'd be awesome.
Over Madden 20 coming out, and then it's still having a janky online system and people can't get in.
Well, I mean, again, like I think a lot of people that play Madden don't really care. Like I mean, I just think the Madden audience is a different audience than the Plants vs. Zombie audience.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
I think there'll be more talk about that Plants vs. Zombie 3 game.
Well, to be fair, I think we kind of did. We have gotten like rumors of the Plant vs. Zombie 3 coming out, and I do think that is going to come to Switch. Like, I think Unravel 2 is kind of the first step of them looking at trying to bring some of those smaller title games to the Switch. Like that, you know, those will be there, whereas like Madden and stuff like that, probably not. I mean, who knows? But I think that they will put stuff. EA will put stuff on Switch. Just it's not going to be.
You got to find
like all the big games. You
just got to find the audience and what's going to work on the system and what's not. But I mean, to be fair, like on the other point is like FIFA's been selling okay on the Switch. Like it's sold enough for them to put. You know, go from 18 to 19, and you know, I'm assuming FIFA 20 is going to be on Switch as well. So like, it's selling enough copies to warrant them still porting it to Switch. You know, it's not. I don't know, man. I think that
They're just kind of having to be smart with what they put on
like
it.
I think something like Need for Speed and Plants vs Zombies would do better on Switch than something like Madden or NBA or hockey or the sports games.
Yeah.
You know, I think they just need to figure out what the audience wants, and it's crazy, but like, you know, Bethesda put Doom and Wolfenstein on Switch, and like everybody went nuts, and those games sold great on Switch, which is something that I never thought I would ever say in my lifetime, to say that those like gory first person shooters about demons and Nazis sold well on a Nintendo platform. Like, I never really thought I would say that, right? And you know, I know Ubisoft has been experimenting with a lot of stuff, and in terms of, you know, they've already brought Rayman and they brought Mario Rabbids and Starlink, which is a fantastic game. You know, and now they're starting to experiment with their bigger games, like Assassin's Creed is coming. Granted, Assassin's Creed 3. Please, God, people that want Assassin's Creed on Switch, please buy Assassin's Creed 3, even if you hate it, because I want Black Flag and Rogue on Switch so bad. But, you know, I think EA just needs to find the right games to put on Switch. Like, Anthem is never going to come to Switch, right? Unfortunately, Mass Effect will probably never come to Switch, even if it's the trilogy, right? Like, I don't think EA is going to re-release the trilogy, right? But
yeah,
Plants vs Zombies is if you want to catch that Splatoon crowd, Plants vs Zombies speaks to that crowd, right? It's the same type of cutesy, cartoony shooter game. Need for Speed, I think, would work great because Switch doesn't really have a lot of hardcore racing games except for, you know, Gear Club. Like, I think there's certain games that fit a niche and that fit a need for the system, as well as meeting the audience.
And with Anthem, I think Switch owners don't want Anthem.
I just think the Switch can't handle Anthem.
Well, it's not. It's not out. Well, true, yes, but I think people like. There's no impression that people want that game.
I would love Anthem on Switch. I would love Destiny on Switch, but
you know, but look at when Unravel 2 got announced. Everybody was just like, this game needs to be on Switch. This game needs to be on Switch. None of the releases that EA had throughout their press conference last year, people were just like, that needs to be on Nintendo Switch, and everybody knew that Anthem wouldn't run on Nintendo Switch because of what EA said. Is Anthem in the state that it came out from its beta to right now, I don't think has built enough confidence for people to really want to support Anthem in that manner. Anthem is becoming kind of like a laughingstock in a sense to outsiders who don't own the game,
which is sad because like the game's not that bad. Like, it's the same as Mass Effect Andromeda. That game was not that bad. It's just in a climate of games that are coming out that are like 8s, 9s, and 10s. You can't have a 7, right? Like, that's just the space we live in now. And that's the same with Mass Effect Andromeda. It's not that Mass Effect Andromeda was a bad game.
Right.
It's just, look at everything else that came out around it that was a 9 and a 10, and we got a 7.5, right? You just can't be that in this climate of games.
Well, and unfortunately, gamers a lot of times, if their first impression, like they'll constantly look at a game with their first impression, even if all the things have been fixed, all the issues that were there originally when it was released got fixed. A lot of the times, gamers just don't care after that.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, our brain, like hardcore gamers' brains, have always been programmed to what's the next big thing coming, right? And like a lot of times we don't look back and say, oh man, that 7 looked cool, but I'm not going to pay $60 for it. You know, we like, you know, I'm going to look forward to the next 9 or 10. I'm not going to look back at a 7, which is a shame because I think there's a lot of good games out there that people skipped over. I think Darksiders 3 is one of those games, right? Where like, it's not a great game. It's a good game. It's not a great game, but I think it was severely overlooked because it was just an okay game that released in November, right? When you had Call of Duty and Pokemon and Smash and the 1,000 other games coming out that were 8s, 9s, and 10s, and you get this game that's a 6 to 7.
Yeah, it didn't garner the same fanfare that Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee did.
Right, and I know Gunfire and THQ Nordic came out and said that Darksiders exceeded their expectations, which is good. I'm glad, because that means we might get another one, and I'm really happy, and I really like that franchise a lot. But I never was beating the drum that they should all be Game of the Year material, but I think games like that need to exist still, and I don't really know how we got on this track as opposed to
it's because of me mentioning E3,
right?
I mean EA versus putting their games on Nintendo Switch. It's just that Nintendo Switch has become a big impact for the gaming industry in general.
It has.
No one can deny that, and so. I think the games that people are excited for on Switch are not the games that EA is trying to make. That's all I'm trying to say. They work well on Xbox and PC, but I don't think that the Switch, the games that EA wants to make, it's the same thing as Activision, right? The way Activision operates is Call of Duty is never going to come out on Switch. That's not how that company operates. That's not what they want to do, and that's fine. We don't need Activision games on Switch for the Switch to be successful. Yes.
But Call of Duty has been a staple on Xbox for 15, 16 years now. Mm-hmm. So, sorry, I'm just trying to steer it back to the Xbox conversation.
But it's just that, I agree, and I know you got something to say, Jesse, and then we're going to get close to the end.
No, I'm done. we're done after this. You can finish it.
The thing with with EA and Activision is that there's just been a lot of bad reports and press and stuff coming out of it. And some people feel if you would have put your stuff out on Nintendo Switch, there would have been some kind of forgiveness or better press on it. When we come to E3 this year and see what EA does, EA Play is going to probably be successful. We don't know, but I think it's time now for a lot of companies here in America needed to support Nintendo in order to at least get a better outlook on them. That's how some people feel.
I don't think,
and I completely. I know it sounds weird. You don't have to agree with that, Corey. No one has to agree about it. But because of a lot of games from Activision and EA not reaching their full potential, or just not being what they said it was going to be when it comes out, a lot of people feel like that's leading to less support of them. Where Bethesda, for example, at least try to put something out on Nintendo that they're getting some support, and one average game like Fallout 76 is not going to hurt them because of what their support for Nintendo is doing. We already know what they're doing for PlayStation, and Microsoft is going to make them set. But if that stuff is not running correct on those systems, even with PC,
I think what you're saying. I think what you're saying is EA needs that goodwill gesture,
kind of, yeah,
as opposed to we're making a game to make money and that's all we're doing. They need that goodwill gesture, and I think that's what they try to do with the EA originals, but they need to do something more than that, and I think that's what you're trying to get at, and I agree with you there. I think they need that goodwill gesture, and I think a good way to actually start this, just to end the show on, is I think what they need to do is exactly what Bonnie Ross came out and said on Unfiltered, where they need to acknowledge what they've done right and what they've done wrong, and they need to address it. And even if they don't have a plan for you to say we're going to change, they need to come out and say, we need to make some goodwill gestures to the fans, because we know that the fans are what make our games great.
Yes. So everybody, that was our Arsenal Exchange, and that was the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you guys do have some thoughts. We do want to hear from you guys. You can email the show at arsenalxpodcast@gmail.com. You can also join us on Facebook at our Arsenal X Xbox podcast group, correct? Or is it fan group?
I don't remember.
You can follow us on Twitter at Arsenal X Podcast.
I'm sorry, I've just been...
On Instagram at Arsenal X Podcast. Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me at CoreyNHD713 on Twitter, and you can find me at CoreyNHD on Instagram and Twitch, and you can find me on Nintendo Pal Block and various other shows on Nerds Gone Rogue.
Yes. Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at FanMakeAX.
You guys can find me on Twitter at that retro code, and find me on Xbox, the lyrical one, and also join us on Xbox podcast group on Xbox One. And also, guys,